Hi everyone, I'm Alex, and I'm going to take you through a bit about how the booking process works at King's Residences. So we're a bit different from lots of other unis in that our residences operate on a booking system rather than an application system. So what this means is that you'll log on and physically select the exact room you want to book, kind of like an Airbnb. The whole process should take you no more than around 5 to 10 minutes. To explain this, we've broken the process down into 4 really simple steps on how to complete your booking. We'll go into each of these in more detail later, but it comes down to this. Step 1, register your interest. Step 2, receive an invite to book. Step 3, book your room. Step 4, sign your contract. And that's it. It's much easier than applying for accommodation and waiting for an offer. We'll start by taking a look at this video on how the process works.
Booking your university accommodation with King's Residences online takes less than 5 minutes. And it's simple. So simple that it almost didn't need a video to explain it. But here goes anyway. All you have to do is follow 4 easy steps. Step 1. Register your interest. If you're coming to study at KCL, visit our website and register for accommodation by providing just a few details. Step 2. Receive an invite. Once you've registered, you'll receive an invitation email within 2 weeks. The invite will give you a date and time you can access the booking system, and you can log on at any time from this date. Before you receive your invite, you should take some time to research all the different accommodations on offer and pick your favourites. When the date in your invitation arrives, Step 3. Book your room. Log into our booking system. You can now select some criteria like room type and budget, and the system will generate all the rooms and residences available to you. The log status will show how long we're holding your chosen room for. Then, just book it. It only takes a few clicks. Step 4. Sign your contract. Remember to check the total cost of your accommodation before signing your contract to make sure it fits your budget. Ask whoever's supporting you if you're not sure. Then, once you've signed, you're all done. If you change your mind later on, you can change your booking. But remember, this can only be done once. And that's it. Now your room is booked, you can look forward to an exciting year at KCL. You can join our social media groups and start making friends and meeting your future neighbours. And of course, if you need any help or information, the residence team is always here to help.
So now let's take a look at each of the steps in a little more detail. So the first thing to do is register your interest in accommodation. You can find the link to do this on the accommodation web pages. Remember though, you'll need to wait 48 hours after firming your academic offer with King's. Also, keep in mind that any registrations received after the 17th of May may not meet our accommodation guarantee deadline. So the accommodation guarantee basically guarantees your place at least somewhere across King's Residences if you complete all 4 steps of the booking process by the 31st of May. But because registrations can take up to 2 weeks to process, we strongly recommend registering before the 17th of May in order to meet the deadline on the 31st. You can check out the full eligibility criteria for the guarantee on our web pages. The registration stage is also the point at which you can apply for the King's Affordable Accommodation Scheme, which is based on your household income. If your application for CAS is successful, it will give you access to book a selection of rooms capped at 169 a week. You can also choose to apply for any additional accommodation requirements if you have a serious medical condition that may, for example, require any adaptations or reasonable adjustments to be made to your room. Here you will also specify whether you will be under 18 when your accommodation contract starts, in which case the team will manually allocate you into one of our under 18 residences. Once you've completed your registration, you'll receive an invite to book email within 2 weeks. This email will contain a date and time from which you can access the accommodation portal to book your room, and you'll be able to access the system at any point from that date. Remember, You should use the time between registration, invite and access to check out all our residences and make a list of your favourites, because not all will be available. Once you have access to the system, you can log on and see all the rooms and residences available to you. The system will already recognise the appropriate contract length for you based on your course type. Some residences are only visible to particular contract lengths or student types, like postgrad or undergrad, for example. So that's why it's important to have done your research beforehand, so you don't get your heart set on any particular residence. It's also worth bearing in mind that some residences are vastly more popular than others, so do manage your expectations here. Stamford Street Apartments, for example, is hugely oversubscribed, so please make a backup choice just in case Stamford Street isn't available. And don't worry, it's not strictly a first-come, first-served based system, as rooms are released gradually throughout the booking period to ensure fairness for all. If you don't see somewhere you like, I'd recommend checking the system a couple of times to see how availability changes, but be careful not to hold out for a particular residence and risk losing out on anything that's currently available. Finally, choose a room and sign your contract. Remember to check that you can afford the total cost of your accommodation before accepting an agreement. And do make sure to have already read a copy of the terms and conditions of accommodation, which will form the contract or license agreement, before confirming. This is to make sure you fully understand the terms, especially because the booking system is on a timer, so you won't get a chance to read the whole document before you press confirm. You can access a copy of these terms and conditions at any point from the accommodation web pages. And that's it, you're done. On your main menu of the accommodation portal, you have the option to apply for the King's Affordable Accommodation Scheme or additional accommodation requirements retrospectively if necessary. You can also choose to change your room, but this can only be done once. Be careful not to cancel your accommodation unless you're absolutely sure, as once you've processed a cancellation, you won't be able to re-register until after A-level results day. And lastly, let's take a look at what life is like in residences in this video.
I was really nervous moving to London because it's very different from where I'm from.
When I chose London to be my destination to do my master's, I was fantasized by the idea of a big city and how beautiful London is. I was packing like maybe a month earlier, which I never actually do.
Before moving into London, the emotions I was definitely feeling the most were apprehension, followed very closely by excitement.
King's College has asked me to speak about my time here at King's Hall.
To give you a sense of living in such a big city like London.
To move in for the first time, so hopefully by the end of this video, you'll kind of know what to expect.
My accommodation is located in Southwark.
I live in Stratford and there's so many things to do here, like go to Westfield or check out the Olympic Park.
Just 30 seconds out of my accommodation, and there is London Bridge Station, which can pretty much take me anywhere in London. And just over there is the Shard. Budgeting is definitely something you have to keep in mind when you move to London.
London is a very expensive city, especially for students.
I made sure I used all the student discounts that were available to me.
There's always somewhere nearby that sells something that little bit more affordably. Just as an example, there's a Tesco literally about 5 minutes walk from here, but I walk about 10 minutes to Lidl and buy what I need for about half the price.
It's very important that you start your planning way ahead before your course starts.
For me, when I was moving to London, I really had to consider location. I had to think about where I would be located in comparison to what I wanted to be nearby.
You have to ask yourself questions like, how far do I want to travel? What sort of amenities does it give me living at this place? Whether I want to share or have an ensuite? How big are the kitchens you're going to be sharing? All of these details you can look up in advance.
The more flexible you are, the cheaper your accommodation is going to be. So if you choose to share a bathroom, then it's going to be cheaper than having an ensuite.
It's all about trying to balance what you're getting with how much you're willing to pay for it. It's up to you to decide what you can and can't live without.
It's good to give up some things for the sake of saving some money. So if you prefer to have your own things, you need to be aware that this will be of a cost.
Although private housing has its benefits, I prefer student accommodations because I've gotten to meet and know so many different people from all over the world, and because I don't have to worry about paying different fees because you only have to pay one lump sum fee.
So the most important difference I noticed between private housing and student accommodation is safety. And for me, safety is a very important element since I just moved from a very small city to a big city.
So if I was moving into London for the first time, as I would actually definitely pick student accommodation over private, just because there's always someone at the front desk. If there's a problem, you can always go down, there's security staff all over the place. Otherwise it can be inconvenient having to deal with all of the issues. Stuff like the estate agents do actually charge you for finding your house, getting your keys sorted out, that kind of thing. It's not much, but it's definitely not an obviously evident cost.
I found it really difficult to pay different bills when I lived in private housing because I'd always have to remind myself or put reminders on my phone that, oh, this bill is due on this day.
I think living in private accommodation is a lot more about cooperation and organisation between you and the people you live with.
It took me almost 2 weeks to find a place to stay in when I first moved here, which is the private accommodation I was in. And this was such a stressful period for me. For somebody who just moved from their home country to London, it would have been very convenient if I just chose King's College accommodation from the beginning. I would want to come to London not being as stressed as I was, but rather find everything prepared for me and everything ready for me to start on my journey in London.
From when I first moved in to now, I feel really confident in being a Londoner, if you will, and actually knowing the city and exploring the city.
I just think I'm better off for coming here. I'm definitely a lot more unflappable, I'd say. Expect the unexpected, but deal with it as it comes.
And I would really, really recommend anyone who wants to get out of their comfort zone and try something absolutely new and absolutely insane at the same time is to try and live in London and choose London, if you can, as your destination for education.
Thanks for watching, and we look forward to welcoming you soon.